Dragon Ball Super episode 117 is now officially in the history books as we begin to make our way towards Dragon Ball Super episode 118 and the destruction of one of the following two universes between universe 2 and 6. But the million-dollar question is, which universe is going to be destroyed next? And joining me here today to discuss our thoughts and predictions going into next week's episode is my good friend Bubbles from Popo's Bedroom, as we are going to be sharing our thoughts and predictions alongside you guys as well down in the comments and seeing where the community stands on the idea of both Universe 2 and 6, if not both, getting erased in the upcoming episode. Now, Bubbles, welcome back onto the channel, as I do want to talk to you about this concept and the idea that I think personally we actually might end up seeing both Universe 6 and Universe 2 get erased in the same episode. Now, what I wanted to ask you is, do you think that's a tad bit too much in the idea that I personally feel Universe 2 might get erased in the beginning and thus saving some sort of like a sentimental moment of Choppa getting erased with Beerus at the very end, because that is Beerus's brother, and I feel like with the Universe 6 fighters here, I don't want to crap on them and saying that, you know, the Universe 6 Namekians can't really provide anything of significant importance against Gohan and Piccolo, but they are going to be facing Ultimate Gohan. They are going to be facing a very powerful version of Piccolo, and I really don't see literally anything that they can do to prevent Ultimate Gohan and Piccolo from, you know, wringing them out, alongside Goku, because we understand that Goku, you know, does get involved, and apparently enough, Frieza is going to be involved as well, in the idea that Frieza's trying to have some fun, and Goku pretty much cuts in the way in eliminating some of the fighters that, you know, Frieza was targeting and whatnot. So what I wanted to ask you, and I wanted to ask the entire community down in the comment section below, is what are your thoughts as to which universe might get rung out next? What are your overall expectations for Universe 6 and Universe 2? And down the line going into this episode, how do you see it being structured in the idea that we are going to see more than one universe getting erased, but the question is, are they going to do it? And if so, how exactly is it going to be done?
Personally, I feel that Universe 2 is going to be the first one to get erased in the next episode, if both of them get erased in the next episode, because we saw that Ribrianne and Rosie were the key characters, and they did both just get knocked off.
And now they're gone.
Exactly. And those three remaining characters, of all people for them to pick a fight with, like, they picked a fight with Goku, and that's not going to end well, because even though Goku isn't at full stamina and is not at full power still, the androids are still there watching his back, and we got to see that multiple times as they were like consistently fighting off Ribrianne and Rosie so that they wouldn't go after Goku.
Right.
So now the androids are no longer tied up with somebody else to fight, so they'll kind of be free to help Goku in fighting the other three members from Universe 2. So I think that they'll be the most direct, the easiest to get out first. And then we see Goku, we see Gohan and Piccolo a little bit tied up with the Namekians, which I think is kind of cool, because we get to see, we know Piccolo and Gohan work very well together, and we get to see in the episode preview that Gohan goes mystic. So I think that definitely, if we don't see Universe 6 end in the next episode, it's definitely coming within the next two, because Gohan going mystic is something that I definitely think is going to be what rings out the Namekians.
Oh, it's over. I think that, I mean, considering the fact that we see Gohan again transforming, I think that it's a sign that Universe 7 is going to be ahead by a huge margin, and I feel like going into next week's episode, we are going to witness both universes get destroyed, and I feel like in the early part of the episode, we may see Universe 2 go, and I feel like towards the end of the episode, we might see Universe 6 go. I firmly believe that by the end of this, both of them are going to get wrung out and erased by the end of the episode. Like, how do you feel about that? Do you see both of them getting erased, like, back to back? Because I can't see Universe 6 going first, just because I feel like with Choppa having to be erased before Beerus's eyes, that's more of like a sentimental moment to close off the episode, rather it be the beginning. So how do you feel about Choppa being erased, and just the concept of that happening towards the end of the episode as opposed to the beginning? And how well do you think the Namekians are going to do against Piccolo and Gohan? Because it looks like, you know, both of them are actually holding their own very, very well, and based on the finale of the preview, it looks like Piccolo takes a heavy hit. So what's your thoughts on the Namekians and how far they might go?
I think the Namekians are going to be pretty cool in 118. I'm excited to get to see them fight and get to see more from Namekians that we aren't so familiar with.
Right.
Because something that was just pointed out to me by a friend is that the Namekians kind of look like they separate into almost, I want to say that each Namekian has different kinds of entities inside him. If that makes sense.
Right, because we saw that during the preview. It was like multiple Namekians just standing there, right? I mean, there are two actual, theories behind that. Number one, it could be the possible theory that perhaps maybe all the Namekians have merged into, those singular fighters and having them have a fair chance of surviving, or maybe there's some sort of like a connection between the Universe 6 Namekians and the Namekians from possibly Universe 7. It's a very wonky thing because once we saw that, it's like we don't really know like what that was, nor like if it represents the singular fighters themselves being the Universe 6 warriors. So do you think that that given point in time is going to be something significant to where it's going to be reflecting onto Universe 7 and Universe 6 Namekians, or do you believe that it's possibly as pointed out by many, a fusion-like concept to where many Namekians joined into one, similar to the Dragon Ball multiverse concept to where it gives them a better fighting chance in surviving? What do you think about that?
I feel like it could definitely be that fusion theory, because obviously going into the tournament, Champa and Vados knew that fusion made each individual character, made each individual fighter stronger.
Yeah.
So the idea of having these two strong individuals, these two strong Namekians,
right,
fusing with other warriors of their race, obviously that would give them a huge power boost. So I think that the theory of having multiple Namekians fused into one, or two in this case, does definitely make sense, and I think that might be something that they're going to play on, because we even saw just Piccolo fusing with Kami, Piccolo fusing with Nail,
right,
how much extra power that gave him,
right,
and how he's still able to access, I kind of want to say both sides of that mindset, like he could still access Nail and still access Kami when he needs to. It's not just Piccolo, and we see that multiple times, that it's not just Piccolo in there. So I think it's going to be interesting because these Namekians not only have their own fighting styles, but have the different fighting styles and different techniques from all of the other Namekians that they could have possibly absorbed.
I think Piccolo might actually ring out one of them, and in response, the other Namekian ends up bringing out Piccolo. In response to that, Gohan may be the one to finally ring out the last remaining warrior of Universe 6. I think it's only fair because we understand, based on 118 spoilers, that Kitela's fighters also get involved. Even though we don't see nothing in the preview, it's safe to assume that they might actually play a hand in all of this, and I firmly believe that we are going to see someone important get rung out. And judging based on the preview, I think it might be Piccolo now, because 18 seems like she's doing okay with 17 now. So what's your overall thoughts on Piccolo having to be the next potential warrior and having to be rung out during the course of battling the Namekians?
Well, I myself, and I know a lot of other people have said this many, many times, is that the key to getting Gohan to go all out is getting rid of Piccolo. Getting Piccolo out of the equation is literally what's gonna put Gohan in that fighting mindset, and that mindset
and pushing him, right?
Exactly. If I don't get this shit done now, it's not getting done. So I definitely think that idea of having Piccolo ring one out and then he himself gets rung out, and then, that would be the drive for Gohan to eliminate the rest of Universe 6. I think definitely that's a good mindset right there, because that'll definitely be that extra push, because we already see him in Mystic.
Right.
So that's definitely, we know he gets that power back, but now that extra rage factor from seeing Piccolo go out, I definitely think that would be an interesting thing to see with the kind of tag team on getting the Namekians out.
And what about the Universe 4 fighters? Do you see finally Daemon, having to make his debut with his twin brother, or do you see like those fighters having to be excluded? Because based on spoilers, it looks like Kitela has a huge involvement in trying to further damage Universe 7 in their chances of survival. So with Universe 2 and 6 being the ones that are on the edge of being erased, in which I do still stand by the idea that they are, What are your overall thoughts on Kitella? Like, do you think he might strike during the mid portion of this episode, the end of the episode, to where it sets up potentially more stuff as we go into December? Because the week of December, I mean, it's Christmas time. I mean, we're bound to see loads of surprises. I mean, I'm pretty certain that they're going to be showcasing several different things that are going to be absolutely mind-boggling before the year closes off. And I feel like it's just about time for them to introduce some of the Universe 4 fighters that have been, you know, kept hidden, especially if Universe 6 and 2 go. All that's really left is 7, 11, 4, and 3. So do you see 3 involved? Do you see 4 involved? If so, how? And if not, do you see any other fighter be involved with Goku after Universe 2 is over and done with? Because they seem to be the only fighters thus far, the Universe 2 warriors, that seem to have taken interest in fighting Goku. The Universe 3 fighters seem to have been foddered by Vegeta and 17, so I don't really see them getting involved, which I think this gives more of a chance for Universe 4 to step in. So what's your take on Universe 4 in seeing Daemon and his brother? Do you think that's actually going to be a thing, or are they going to keep that just a tad bit more hidden until, you know, future episodes?
Well, the idea of pick on Goku while he's down is definitely something that I feel like they're gonna continue playing on, just like how the 3 fighters from Universe 2 came for Goku while he's not at his full strength. So I definitely feel like, whether it be with the other universes, they are still going to play on Goku doesn't have his full strength, because that's been something that they've been saying from the beginning, is conserve your stamina, you know, be careful at where you're spending your energy. So it's definitely there that he doesn't have his full power, and that even though they've seen what he can do, and they've seen him versus Jiren, they've seen him versus Kefla, so it's understanding that he is a strong fighter, but it's also knowing that right now he's at a weakened state, and if there's any better chance to get him down, it's right now while he doesn't have that energy. However, when you bring up the other fighters, I think it's also being a bit smart to think that, you know, everyone else is taking the example of the other universes, just like taking the example of Universe 2 and seeing that, you know, they want to come after Goku, and the idea of coming after Goku just cost them 2 of their most powerful fighters.
Right.
Because, you know, seeing how well, even though I don't want to necessarily say Universe 7 works together as a team, but individually the teamwork on Universe 7 is definitely a force to be reckoned with, which is why we have so many fighters still on the battlefield, is because, you know, there's the individual sets of fighters that work very well together. So it's still having that up, and still having those bonds between 17 and 18 up together, and still having Gohan and Piccolo up together. I don't think anybody would be dumb enough to try to go after Goku again, or try to flat out attack Universe 7 again, just because they understand that those characters are still there and ready to fight.
Yeah, but that doesn't that make them, like, severely overpowered? Because it's like, so far Universe 7 is dominating, unless they swerve us, and the moment when Jiren gets involved, he starts ringing out everybody. I mean, he throws out Piccolo, 17, 18. Like, what are your thoughts on that? Because so far Universe 7 is up, I mean, like in terms of numbers, tremendous. Like, they have the numbers advantage. Do you see that changing in the future? Because with Kitella's fighters, you know, Daemon, you know, having to be so small and hidden within the stage, he holds that advantage because you can't really feel out his energy. But with Universe 7 being up so much, do you see Jiren or any other fighter like Toppo getting involved in having to ring these fighters out, you know, continuously? Because I think that episode 118 is going to set up the inevitable demise for many characters. I think that if there are 2 characters that have been picked out so far that might get rung out, it's going to be possibly Piccolo and 18. 18's hurt, and I think that Piccolo might be overwhelmed with the Namekians and what they do. By the end of this, once the universes are gone, I could still see Piccolo and 18 being here.
Well, to touch on the 18 thing again, is that I think that since they've been hinting that she's injured, she can't stay much longer without further, you know, doing further damage to herself. So I think that for now, like, the whole teaming up with 17, fighting Ribrianne, fighting the girls of Universe 2, that makes sense, but I think that as soon as Universe 2 is out and as soon as their compatibility is no longer needed, I honestly don't think there's going to be much more room for 18 to be a fighter, because then that's really cutting it down to the bare minimum from each universe, because then we won't have Universe 2 anymore, we won't have Universe 6 anymore at that point. So it's really cutting it slim to the fighters who need to be there, and having an injured fighter on the team won't be as useful to see further, because we even saw in her fight with Ribrianne how had 17 not been there to come in, she would have been wrung out right there against Ribrianne, because her injury is getting to her. So I think that that's definitely, they're obviously hinting at it for a reason, it's being foreshadowed for a reason. So I think that she's not going to last much longer, because with an injury it's just too hard to have a fighter like that. And then as for
no, yeah, go ahead. Because I was gonna bring up Ribrianne, but we're gonna touch up on that in a little bit. But go ahead.
All right. And as for Piccolo, as I said, you know, the whole Gohan thing, I think he's only gonna be used. I think he's further is only gonna be used as leverage for Gohan, for Gohan's power up.
And being used to trigger Gohan to fight more aggressively, you think?
Yes.
But then who's gonna eliminate Piccolo then, if that's the case? If Universe 6 goes right, and if Universe 2 goes, who rings out Piccolo? I mean, all that's left are like the Universe 3 warriors, which I don't see them doing any sort of significant damage against the duo so far, though, of Gohan and Piccolo. Universe 4, again, I don't see them being involved. The only other option is to see Toppo and Dispo fight Piccolo and Gohan, maybe? Because, I mean, that just seems a bit more logical, to where they're going to be fighting very powerful opponents, to where they obviously get outmatched in terms of strength and speed. But I mean, if Piccolo is the next one to go, like, who do you see, you know, coming in and taking Piccolo out, do you think?
Well, if it's not the other Namekians from Universe 6, then I definitely feel like the Toppo Dispo situation would make sense, because that's another fighting duo, so that would make sense for Gohan and Piccolo to be against Toppo and Dispo. So in a way, I would see that would be a good, like, 2-on-2 combat. So if Piccolo doesn't get wrung out by one of the Namekians, I would think it'd be cool to get him wrung out by Toppo. Because, you know, again, I want to give Toppo a chance really bad, because it's at the point where I want to see more from the fighters that we have left. Like, this is the same thing I said last time with Ribrianne, is that even though I don't like the character, I do want to see more from the fighters, because they're there for a reason. Right. So to get to see, because for me now, with the characters left in Universe 7, I would consider any of Universe 7's fighters to be a major ring out. And to see a character like Toppo that we still haven't seen much from get a major ring out by ringing out a Universe 7 fighter, I think that would be automatically like a better leverage to see more from Toppo.
Speaking of Ribrianne, can we all just rejoice as to what happened? Because in my opinion, yeah, I mean, 18 did her thing. Obviously, the MVP, I think, was 17 again, because if it were not for 17, I think that his sister would have been done. Ribrianne's new form or transformation was the fact that she had a giant, you know, form, like a Namekian, sort of say, like Slug, for example. And she looked like Slug too. What are your thoughts as to what transpired between Ribrianne and the androids? Because I think episode 117 was not good until like the very end, I guess you could say the final act of the episode, to where things really started getting, you know, picked up, and the idea that, you know, the androids counteracted Ribrianne's attack, and her pushing Rosie out, and then seeing everything that played off with Ribrianne having to fight off both the androids, and then getting like literally impaled through her, like, you know, big skull, and then having to get wrung out. How did you feel about that? Like, did you think it was, you know, necessary to see, you know, Ribrianne finally get wrung out by the androids, or do you think that maybe they should have took a different approach in having someone else be the one to ring them out, per se?
Honestly, I'm glad she got wrung out. To be honest, I think that the transformation in this episode definitely killed the character even worse for me. Yeah, it did. Because as I was saying, the whole, like, wanting to see the character fight, that transformation was so useless. It was, like, honestly, it was something that I didn't imagine we would see, and something that, now that we saw it, I'm like, oh, that was so
I didn't even expect it either. The minute she grew, I was like, get out of here, bro. No way. Godzilla, is that you? I could not believe it, man.
It was honestly, to see that, I was like, I was like, all hope of me wanting to have given the character a slight chance just literally went out the window as soon as I saw that happen.
I literally felt as if she was going to transform into something. I mean, it duped me. I was like, wait a minute. Because, like, once I saw the Universe 2 gods and Kaioshin start waving these wands or whatever, and she started glowing, I was like, oh no, dude. Like, what? I was really curious. I was like, maybe she might be like this enchantness, like this angel-like character, like some beautiful, majestic, instead of being fat and overweight and ugly or whatever, she might be like this beautiful creature, but she's like really strong. And it turns out that she became like, you know, 10 times her size, and her wingspan covered the entire tournament ring. And the idea that what I found interesting was she only went after, you know, 18 during that course. It's not like she could have targeted Goku and like knocked him out of the ring, right? But she targeted 18. Like, how did you feel about that? And the idea that as quickly as she came, she just got wrung out. Like, that was just it for that. Like, do you think it was like logical to see, or do you think that, you know, what they did with the character was necessary for that point in time?
I think that her fight before the transformation was her fight with 18. So the transformation was needed because she was fighting 18. So I think, honestly, to have seen her after she transformed like that, to have seen her go for Goku, yes, that probably would have been tactical to see her, you know, in a transformed state trying to wring out one of the strongest fighters. However, it honestly, like, you don't want it to just be everybody ganging up on Goku, you know? Like, you do want to see them challenge Goku, and you want to try to see the thought of, like, maybe him getting wrung out, but you don't want it to just end over something stupid. So I think the fact to make her transform and then continue her fight with 18 instead of making her go for somebody else was the better thing to see, because then we got to see, you know, we got to see her after, when she got eliminated and she was in the stand with Rosie and the other girl whose name I can't remember. You know, when we got to see her in the stand after, it was kind of like, after she spent the entire time in the tournament that, you know, up to that point, she was like, oh, love this, and like trying to like spit love at everybody else, when she didn't realize that fighting 18, she was fighting somebody who was driven by love and who, you know, admitted, she was like, I have a husband and I have a kid, I have a reason to be fighting.
Yeah.
Your love is your thing, but this is my love and this is what I'm fighting for. So I thought that it made it kind of like, you know, had a little bit of a touchy, like, making sense moment to have 18 stay against Ribrianne in that sense, because her fight was with her. And then to see her get wrung out and come to that realization that not all love is my love, I don't know, I thought that was cool.
I mean, I'm just very shocked, even right now, that Ribrianne outlasted, even hit. Because with such characters like that... No, I mean, I just feel like they could have done so much more. And we're going to be talking more or less about that in the month of December, about the pros and the cons for the Tournament of Power, because this arc had so many pros, but it had so many cons as well. One of which being that Ribrianne outlasted Hit, even Kefla being as powerful as she was. But either way, guys, post your comments in the comment section below between Universe 6 and Universe 2. Which universe do you guys believe is going to go next? I mean, if you guys feel it might be both, let us know down below. Also, guys, make sure to go ahead and slap a like down below if you guys are new. Punch that subscribe button, guys. Enable all notifications. Check out Popo's bedroom, aka Bubbles. I will leave a link to her channel down below. If you guys just so happen to see a guy on the channel, it's a collective collab channel, so don't worry. Bubbles is not a guy. She's a really cool person, so make sure you guys go ahead and check her out, everybody. Thank you all so much for watching once again. Tune back in for more, and we'll be seeing you guys down in the comment section. Take it easy, guys. Peace.